Okay. Just going to check it's gone live. It's saying it's live. I'm just going to refresh on Facebook and check it has gone live.
I'm just doing the same so I can share. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, it's gone live on there. Okay, lovely. Hello, everybody. I'm having technical issues, unfortunately. So I'm here, but nobody can see me. But Sarah and Lisa, you can see. So, and it's Lisa we're interviewing today. So that's probably the important bit. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Clare. I run Insight Hounds, which is dog training based in the Midlands, and we specialise in X-racing greyhounds, but work with all sight hounds. Sarah, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yep, sure. We are Berkshire Dog Training, and Claire and I, we've had a fabulous weekend together, and we thought, why not carry on the fun and do a live? And it's great that we've got Lisa joining us to talk all things physio.
Lovely, thank you. And Lisa, as you're our guest today, I don't feel I can do the intro justice, so I don't know if you want to introduce yourself and explain who you are and what you do. That would be great.
Oh, thank you. And thank you, Sarah and Claire, for inviting me for this chat. So, yeah, I'm Lisa. I'm a physiotherapy for animals. I treat horses and dogs and cats. And I've been treating Claire's dog Oscar now for a couple of years, a year and a half, maybe. Time goes so quickly. So I help dogs and horses predominantly, making sure that they are living the best lives that they can, pain-free as possible, and educating owners and bringing that quality of life together. I love my job. I love everything that comes with my job, and no 2 days are the same. So it's really good to be out there and helping all different types of animals.
Claire, are you still there? Mm-hmm. I think we've lost
still here.
Okay.
It's playing up. Yes, I'm still here.
Still playing up, is it?
But I'm here. So, okay, Lisa, can you tell us a little bit more then about? We keep calling it dog physio, but I noticed you call it canine physio. What's the correct terminology we should be using?
So,
what do you do? Who's it for? And
of course. So there's lots of different terms that you might hear. You might hear animal physiotherapy. You may hear veterinary physiotherapy, canine physiotherapy, dog physio, and it's all the same thing. It's just who you're talking to, I suppose, as to what people say. I also get called, if I'm treating horses, I know it's not what we're talking about, the back lady as well. Oh. So there's so many different things that come across that you may hear. So I do help dogs of all different varieties, from chihuahuas up to greyhounds and everything in between. And it could be for any different reasons. It could be if they have had surgery, if they're older and they have arthritis, if they've had an injury, out playing ball in the park. But it also helping younger dogs with strength and conditioning at the same time to kind of prevent any soft tissue injuries going forward. It's trying to do like a preventative measures at the same time.
Oh wow! So it's quite broad. It's much broader than I realised. So
yeah, that's it.
Quite a broad spectrum out there. I'd always thought of the older dogs and that sort of thing, but that's interesting that you do prevention work as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like you cover everyone. Is anything in particular we should be looking for if we wanted to refer our dogs for you? I know we were at a conference yesterday, Sarah, and they one of a fabulous lady called Sarah Fisher was covering about looking at, who runs an ACE centre, at Tilly Farm was talking about how coat differences can sometimes indicate there's an issue with the dog. And I noticed with Oscar, where his lumbar issue is, his coat does stand up on end a lot more than it does in the rest of his body. So I know that's kind of something we could be looking for. And Oscar was, the muscle mass started to go, and he started to slow down a bit. So those were some of the indicators I saw with Oscar. But is there anything you'd recommend people looking for to suggest that their dog may need physiotherapy?
Yeah, definitely. And actually, you as an Oscar's owner is really good at looking at those differences. You probably didn't realise how important they are. But actually, you know, when I come for follow-up checks with Oscar, you do let me know if you feel like there's any changes especially in the coat. I've noticed you have mentioned that a lot to me before, and obviously the muscle mass. But of course, you know, that sometimes it's quite hard to notice small things and small changes when you're seeing your dog every day. But I think some of the main things you could look for is behaviour changes is quite a big one.
Yeah.
And again, you know, with yourselves with training, can elaborate at that, you know, a little bit more. But so, you know, they're starting to be a little bit more reluctant to want to do their favourite things as well, especially older dogs. They're a bit slower and a bit stiffer to get out of bed in the morning or once they've had a lay down. Or if you see, you know, notice excessive licking of their joints as well. Or any areas, again, you know, it may indicate that there is a problem, but we always say to go to, you know, to speak to your vet initially, and then obviously we can get involved if it's appropriate at the same time. When I say we, physios as such, and therapists.
That's great. Thank you. I think that's the thing. Sometimes you do just get an older dog. We've had a few older dogs recently, and you just think, oh, they're just slowing down. But I'm always quite surprised in the difference in Oscar pre a treatment and post a treatment, because it can be quite gradual. You see that slowing down and going, oh, he's just getting a bit older and a bit tireder, and then he has a treatment and you're like, no, you still got it. So I think, like you say, that slowing down, we sometimes think's one thing, but it could be another. So the treatment itself, I know you use lots of different things. Oscar has a mat that he lies on. You use a laser. There's the actual physiotherapy itself. There's the post you've been there. Can you tell us a bit more about some of the different techniques you use and the different tools you use, and why they would benefit? I know I had some questions over the weekend about the laser in particular and what that did.
Of course. So, you know, for any animal therapist or canine therapist, physiotherapist, there's so many different tools that we can have in our toolkit. I think the most important tool that we can have is obviously our eyes and our hands. We need to be able to see how the dog is moving, but we also need to feel what's underneath the structures. And that's the soft tissue structures as well as the joints as well. So we need to check the range of motion through the joints to see if there's any changes in that and why is that changes. We need to be able to feel the muscle differences, so how tight a muscle could be, but also for compensation areas. With Oscar, we do treat quite a lot of our compensation areas, and actually I think at first you were quite surprised at how much more focus there is, you know, to help those sort of areas that we need to deal with, that is having that extra strain as such.
Yeah, definitely, because kind of the vet said, and from his x-rays and stuff, that the issues in his spine, it's degenerative and it's never going to get better, and he's lost quite a lot of mass on his back end as a part of it. But I was amazed at, as a result of that, he was carrying all of his body weight wrong, and then it was putting so much tension on other parts of his body. And then when you were treating that, it was incredible, the differences to just leveling him up when he's getting him straight again.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And of course, then we do have our modalities as well. So as you've already mentioned, the laser therapy, the mat that you mentioned is pulse electromagnetic field, and you may come across therapeutic ultrasound or shockwave, not so much in small animals. Another one is radio frequency. So there's lots of different, and there's also lots of different lasers out there as well, but I won't go into too much detail and confuse everyone.
Sounds more like a Star Trek movie, doesn't it?
That's it. So, but basically what all of those machines and modalities are doing, depending on what we use and why we use it, we're basically trying to enhance healing and recovery of the cells, promote the tissue to be softer as such, and also take away like a therapeutic pain relief at the same time. So it's really good for inflammation, that sort of thing. And obviously each animal will have their own protocol of what we use. So it's, depending on what we're treating and why we're using it will depend on how long we're using it for, how often we will see it. So each animal is kind of looked at individually. It's not a one size fits all, which is why I love my job as well, because it always keeps my brain working. And
very
of course,
similar for training.
Exactly, no animal's the same, are they?
Exactly.
And
We
they all have
to be
their own
called detectives and things like that, trying to work out where things are coming from. And I think there's a lot of lovely correlation between what you've been saying, Lisa.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also it's the owner's expectations as well we've got to take into consideration. I suppose that's the same for you, is what do the owners want to get out of the sessions, and how we're going to basically restore function and movement the best we can for each individual. And then we obviously need to give exercises for the owners to carry out at home as well, because we can do everything in one session, but if we're not able to continue that at home in between sessions, then the dog's just going to go back to how it was. You know, we need to do that strengthening. We need to rehab that dog back to how we can, as best as we can do, depending on what condition they have at the same time.
Yeah. It's so similar to the human side of things. And I had a double knee op a couple of years ago, and I had to see a physio afterwards. And, I'd spent an hour and brilliant, I'd been sort of correcting on my posture and doing some exercises. But woe betide if I didn't do the exercises between the sessions. And it felt like going to confession, going, maybe I haven't done as many as I should have done, etc. But the importance was by making sure and diarising and doing those exercises really made such a, impact on my progress and my recovery following that operation. So I totally can see, but it's hard for sometimes owners, isn't it? We've all got busy lives, and it's trying to work with your dog in order that trying to help them understand what's going on. And because we can control our own lives and our own actions like I could with my physio, but we're then trying to kind of get the dog to understand that what we're doing, and some dogs don't like to be handling. Have you ever, is that a challenge that you have with your occupation?
Definitely. And I kind of read, like yourselves, would read the dog and the environment that we're in, and I never rush these things, because the dogs have to let their guard down. They need to, if they're already guarded, their whole body's going to have this wall that we can't break down as such. And so, and Claire, you probably agree with this, as how I kind of look at the room as such, read the dog, and if they're not happy with something, then I kind of have to change my mind and my thinking of how I'm going to get round to what I want them to do. And it may not, may only do little steps to start off with, especially if it's something, post-surgery or quite an acute injury. We can't overload them too quickly, because actually we'll do more damage than there is good at the same time. So it's all that balancing act as such. As well as
say that again, it mirrors training, that you can have a training plan that you've got to do something with a dog, and they come in and something's happened that morning and it means they're off balance a bit more. You often have to tweak what you're doing. But I've certainly noticed that with Oscar, there's been the the odd time you've come out and there's been a series of something that's gone on behind the scenes that you very much have to adjust what you're doing. But most of the time he's like, oh, Lisa's here, running to the door to greet you.
Yeah,
means I'm going to get loads of salmon treats and he gets to come and see you, not just for the food. But and I think that's because you've got the relationship with him where you don't pin him down and do everything. He's like, oh, Lisa's come to visit. I'm going to get to lie on my mat and have my massage, which he's really enthusiastic about the treatments. And sometimes you'll be like, no, we can't do that today. It's a bit too much for him. We'll take it this far, but we'll work on something else today and come back to that at the next session. It's really, I feel like you really take into account his needs and how he's feeling and tailor it accordingly. So that's lovely.
Definitely.
So I think one of the things that we find a lot with the dogs I work with is we are dealing with ex-professional athletes, really, with a lot of them. So they can have more wear and tear on their bodies than the average sort of 2 to 5 year old that maybe hasn't had that kind of background of a racing career. So I know arthritis is something that can be quite prevalent in the greyhounds. And Sarah, have you got something going on with arthritis coming up in your
Yeah, I do, which is, and the timing of this couldn't be better. So I partner with Oakley Vets, which is the local veterinary in Caversham in Berkshire, and we are doing what's called a vet bite. So it's one of our vets is talking and I'm going along to assist them and work with them because, obviously, when you've got a dog that's, maybe suffering for those things, obviously physio and things, but also some dogs don't maybe understand the impact that they physically can't do things, but they need to have that mental enrichment. So there's a lovely combination there where you're trying to, help a dog recover and whatever, they're going through. So that's where, there's a lot of, similarity between the work that we can help with. And so that's why we're doing a chat on the 10th of June with the vet about arthritis to help them. But, it'd be great to understand a little bit more, from your perspective about arthritis, if you have anything you can share, because so I can refer people back to this live going and in the chat.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's great that you're working with the vets, because that's what we have to do. We can't treat any animal without that veterinary referral or veterinary consent.
Right.
So we have to work really closely, because if we notice any difference, and especially if we talk about arthritis at this point, any changes in pain, for instance, pain is our top priority of trying to navigate through. And if there is any changes in pain, then we refer back to the vets, because potentially they may need to have pain relief given to them, or increased pain relief. Because again, we're kind of dealing with an animal that can't verbally talk back to us. So we have to look at other signs of pain, things that we've already mentioned in this live already, like with the change in behaviors and reluctance to move or go out and things. So we do, that's kind of like our main priority. And once we do that, then we can start looking at how we're going to give that dog a better quality of life as such, and maintain what they've got and things. And one of the good resources that I kind of go to myself or advise owners to have a look at is the Canine Arthritis Management. It's a website. They have a support group on Facebook for owners, as well as therapists and vet practices as well. And there's little things there that, little tips and things that they can do. And obviously when dogs are getting older, they can kind of give you they kind of put you in touch. If you're going on holiday with your dog, but they can't walk as much, you can borrow a pushchair or things, that sort of thing. So they can still enjoy their life and be a part of the family. So it's a really, really good resource there to help for both owners and professionals. And I think I always refer back to that one. So that's a really good source.
Thank you.
And the other thing as well is, just little environmental changes that they can help for their dogs. slippy floors at homes. We all have the nice wooden laminate floorings. But if you ever watch your dogs on there and how much they slip and how much strain they put on their joints, so just putting, runners on there, or I know it doesn't look pleasing to us, but it will help your dogs so much. And keeping the nails trimmed, especially as they're getting older, that puts a massive strain on their limbs.
Brilliant. Great tips there.
That's really useful. Great tips. Thank you. I was about to go on. Have you got any tips for caring for dogs or helping to prevent some of this? And you've covered it. So.
No, there we go.
Seamless.
That's it. There's so much that that I could go on. I could talk all night about it, but I think that it, especially in arthritis, it's just managing what they can do. And another big tip is not to take them out for 5-10 minutes in the week and then 2 hours on the weekend. Please don't do that. We're all guilty of it. I'm sure we've all done it. But you'll notice the difference in your dogs the next, within a couple of days of that 2 hour hike, especially when this weather's so nice as well. We're all quite keen to get out and about, but just think about those dogs as well that are, especially the arthritic dogs.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. I'm bouncing back a little bit, but something I wanted to mention that I've found really useful with Oscar, as well as sort of just a fun, I could rave about you all evening, sort of changes in Oscar sort of before and after physio is just amazing, particularly even though it's something that's not going to get better, still see massive improvement when he's seen you. But one of the things that is really important to me is what a good relationship you've got with my vets, because the vet's only got a very small window to see Oscar, so they sort of, my vet is fantastic and very lucky to have a wonderful vet, but he sort of like pokes around, we have a conversation about where we've been going, and he'll test him there. But having your report to be able to reference that, he'll go, okay, from what Lisa's saying, because she's seen Oscar a few more times and she spent longer with him and had more time with that, we can tweak his medication accordingly. And I know there was one scenario where Oscar took a downturn and you were like, I think we need to go back and up the medication, go and speak to the vet and see if there's an option to have a conversation. I know you can't tell them to, but there's a definite change. So having two of you looking after him as opposed to just the vet medicating or just your physio, the fact that they work together so well means that I feel like Oscar's getting a more holistic approach and better care from that point of view as well. That's really valuable.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not just working, vets is our main, people that we need to work with. And thankfully, obviously, I used to work where you take Oscar, so I have that good relationship. But yeah, that is our key people that we need to keep in contact with. But there is also, like yourselves as dog trainers, having that conversation with you guys with what we're doing will help. And dog walkers, groomers, hydrotherapists, those sorts of people are all part of one team and should be working together, not against each other, because we're all trying to get the best that we can with the dogs. And I think it's really important to have that communication with everyone that's involved, with each individual, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree more.
Definitely. Excellent. So if people wanted to find out a bit more about physiotherapy and working with yourself, Lisa, or physiotherapy from Sarah's End in Berkshire, what's the best way to get in touch with you? Or if they're not local to you, who would you recommend? Or is there any sort of governing bodies or anything like that you'd recommend people look at?
Yeah, of course. So there is quite a few different registers that you can look at. So obviously if you're local to me, so I cover Warwickshire, Worcester, Birmingham, those kind of counties or cities. So you can just find me on probably from your page maybe, or on my Facebook or Instagram, Ms. Book Therapy. But also, if you're not within that area, Berkshire, for instance, there are different associations. So I'll name them all, but I'll try and put some links up. But there is, I'm trying to remember what the long words are rather than the acronyms.
We can add it, Lisa, we can add it retrospectively. So yeah, so if you ping them across to us, we can add it as a comment so that people can get access. We've done that a few times, but we've done things like add recipes for pumpkin dog treats over at Halloween Live that we did, you know, and stuff like that. Really important stuff. This is far much more important, but yeah, so we're good at adding stuff so that people can get access, so we can do that.
Yeah, no, I just would recommend making sure that whoever you use is qualified, insured, and is working in conjunction with the vet. Because I know I say that, but there are people out there that aren't. So it's just making sure. And whoever you do choose would be, and they are all of those, have all those credentials, will be more than happy to show you those as well.
Yeah, perfect. That's brilliant. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. That's really, really helpful. Thank you so much. And you've been our first person we've interviewed.
Exactly.
So it's been an absolute pleasure. Sarah, is there any questions you've got outstanding or you'd like to?
No, I think we've covered everything. I've found it really interesting. It's been lovely to meet you. I know you've got a lovely relationship with Claire, but it's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you so much for joining us. It's we want to try and introduce different topics, and delighted that you were willing to give some insight into this really important subject. And Claire and I will be back again, and Amy will be back, who's the third wheel of our lives normally when her maternity leave's over. But it's lovely to have some new information coming through and helping our clients and hopefully your clients learn a little bit more, and future clients know a little bit more about what you do.
No, thank you so much for having me. Really enjoyed it.
And I'm sorry we haven't seen your lovely face, Claire. I mean,
yes, apologies.
Technology.
Obviously, this screen decided it was a bad hair day, and it just wasn't. Didn't want to play ball, but we'll be back, and I'll sort the camera out by the time we hit the next live. But thank you so much, Lisa, and thank you, Sarah. It's been
no problem at all.
Take care. Everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.